So you should have a box which will have a green number on top, and that green number corresponds to what group you're in. And we're just going to start by getting out all the parts that you've got, and then you can put them into your plastic tub, which you should have written your names on. So let's have a look. Open it up. I had to cut the two little bits of sticky tape on the front there. Open it up, and first thing you see is this sheet. Okay, hold on to that. It's got your parts list on the back there. Okay, all the parts that go into making up your robot, and a little bit of introductory information about the robot there. But I've put all of that into your handbook. And then let's look at the components that you get provided with. Okay, in this first big bag, I'm going to go through what's in there. Now, this is quite important. I'm going to tell you, don't take anything out of the bags until you absolutely have to. Okay? See all these tiny little little nuts that you've got in that bag? Bolts that you've got in that bag. Okay? You don't want to be taking those out of that bag until the last possible second. And even when you take them out, only take out the number that you need to do that part of the build. Otherwise, they'll go missing. So leave them in the bag and leave the bag in your plastic tub. Okay? These are what's called M2 hex head bolts. Okay, so these are the M2 hex head bolts. Hex head because if you look at the top of them, they've got a little hexagon, and that can be attached and tightened up using the Allen key that you're provided with. Okay, in this plastic bag we have a number of assorted little bits and pieces. The two nuts and bolts that are in here are used to mount the battery pack. Two little strips of rubber here are the tyres for your wheels, and these two other little bits of rubber, little rectangular bits of rubber there, those are part of your bumper assembly. Okay, and that's actually a special kind of rubber. It actually conducts electricity and forms part of the switch for the front of your module, your robot. Let's put those there. Okay, we've got two motors. You'll notice that they might be stuck together when you pull them out. That's because they've got magnets inside them. And these two little bits at the front of the motor there and there, those are the contacts. Okay, so you'll hear about them later on. And those contacts, later on you're going to have to bend them up. Okay, they'll start out flat down, and you're going to have to bend them up later on so that they can make contact with the electrical parts of the motherboard. Let's just put those motors down there. This bag here contains the M2 nuts. Okay, let's see if we can isolate one there. These little guys here, these are the M2 nuts, and those are what we use to tie everything together, tighten everything together, screw everything together. And these longer things also have got threads in them like the nuts, but these are support posts, so you'll have to use these later on as well. Battery pack with two little wires coming out of the bottom here. They'll be useful in our first piece of assembly. The Allen key, okay, that we use for tightening up our nuts. Don't lose that. Don't lose any of this stuff, but particularly don't lose that. In this plastic bag here we have a lot of the assembly pieces, a lot of the mechanical components of the robot. We have a bumper, a gearbox housing, okay, a motor housing, another motor housing, axle. This is the base of the battery pack. A wheel, a bumper housing, so many different things, a skid, okay, this is the little skid that goes on the front of the vehicle, and then duplicates of the motor, the axle and the bumper housing. So we're going to need two of each of those things. I'll just put those back in the bag because I don't want to lose them. Screw that up. Now, other things that we have. I've got this tube of grease. Okay, tube of grease there. And then in this plastic bag I've got a series of little things, including a brick. Okay, these little oddly shaped things are called bricks with the 3 holes in them. And I've got 2 worm gears. Okay, those are going to go on the motors. And then this funny little thing with the 3 legs, 3 metal legs, is going to allow us later on to connect our own circuits when we build our own circuits. But we don't use that for the time being. Now, inside this bag, and you can open this up and take this out, protected in bubble wrap, are the circuit components. Okay, all the different parts of the motherboard and the other parts of the circuit. And so the next thing that you're going to need to do, you can share this job between the other members of your group, is take these separate parts out of this motherboard, okay? And you're going to have out of this board, and you're going to have to do that by breaking the little connectors that are holding them in, just those little 3-hole connector things that you might be able to see there. And to do that, we just grab the solid bit, okay, and we apply a little bit of up and a little bit of down force. And I was thinking about this before, and I reckon it's about the amount of force that you need to use to, say, break a paddle pop stick in half. Okay, that's about the amount of force that you have to apply to break that off. Now, it might be a little bit sharp. Be careful you don't hurt yourself. And you go through the entire board, and you basically break off all of these pieces. Well done. You can throw that away now. You make sure that you've got everything off. And then you have these bits here. So, these 3 we're not using for the time being. Okay? You can put them in one of your spare plastic bags and put them back in the tub. These 2 are the switches for our bumpers. This is our line tracker, this piece here. This is for a pen holder that we're also not going to use now, so you can put that to one side. And this bit here is the motherboard. Okay, you can see it's got this nice chip here, got all this beautiful tiny soldering, and it's surrounded by these gold patches. Okay, gold patches around here, little gold semicircles. Those are actually what form the electrical connections that hold everything together. Okay, so it's very important that when you're connecting 2 things, if things are supposed to touch with those, usually it's a nut that has to screw down to that, so you've got to make sure that you screw that down enough so that it does make contact.